a new project here. We're gonna do wainscoting, some board and batten on these walls here. So I'm gonna show you how to remove the baseboards. I already did it on a few of the walls. You don't have to whisper. I don't have any sound in. I just used tools that I had. I didn't get too technical with this because this part of the wall is going to be covered anyway, so it didn't matter if I made little marks or anything. So I kind of just had fun with it. So the first real step here was I measured 6 feet up because that's where the top trim is going to go, and then I made sure to mark all the studs on top of that line so that once I put the paneling on, I can see exactly where the studs are. I also marked out every 2 feet because we are going to cut the panels in 2-foot strips. So I put a mark on the wall every 2 feet just so I can kind of keep track of where the boards are going. We decided to cut the boards down into 2-foot strips so that we could put the battens on every single seam. So every time there is a seam where the 2 panels meet, there will be a vertical batten to hide that seam. We just kind of came up with that because that looks good for this size of room. And so the next step here was taking all of the plywood and cutting it down to 6 feet high, and then we ripped them down to 2 feet wide. So there were a lot of cuts here at the table saw. So now we have all of the pieces of plywood cut to the right size. Next step is to just start gluing it up on the wall, and then I used a finish nailer to get them into the studs. We had quite a few outlets and switches on these walls, so we had to cut the plywood to accommodate those. All I had was a jigsaw, so what I did was just measure over from the previous board and then up from the ground. Just drew the outline, and then I would drill holes from the 4 corners and use the jigsaw to cut out the openings. So the reason we're even doing this step is because we have textured walls, and board and batten really needs a smooth surface to look right. So this is after all the boards are up. You can see the seams here, but these are all going to be covered with the vertical battens. Okay, so the next step is the baseboards. We went with 8-inch baseboards, so this is just a 1x8x10 whiteboard. We used the same premise here. We just glued it up and then nailed it in, making sure we got into the studs, and also made sure it was level because the ground definitely isn't level. Okay, end of day 1, we got all the baseboards up. That was kind of our goal. So the next day, day 2, we will start on the top trim and the vertical battens. This top trim is definitely a 2-person job, especially using wood this length. So we would just glue it, hold it up, make sure it was level, and then nail it in. I also had to buy a new tool because we had so many outlets. I went out and got a multi-tool, which really helped with making all the small cuts to make sure the outlets and the switches fit. This thing was really a lifesaver for this project. Okay, so top and bottom trim is done. It's time to do the vertical battens. I used 1x3s, so I would just hold them up to the baseboard, measure to the top, and make the cuts. Also making sure to hold the 1x3 up where the seam is, because we definitely want to hide that seam. So we want to make sure the measurement is correct for that exact spot. So after a little bit of trial and error and experimenting, we decided that 21.5 inches between each batten would be perfect. It would hide the seams, and it would also just be uniform across all the walls and just look really appealing. So we would measure 21.5 inches, line up the batten, make sure it was level, glue, and nail. So for the corners, it works a little bit differently. So I'll show you an example here. For this corner, I'm taking the measurement. I'll go out to the miter saw and I'll cut it to length. And since this is a corner, we want to cover up the seam that's on the corner. So I will cut the 1x3 to about a 1-inch strip and a 2-inch strip, and this way one side can stick out on the corner and overlap the other one. Alright, so we have almost all of the verticals up here. It's starting to really look nice. I can show you the corners here, how they overlap. I also decided to miter anything that was near a door frame or a window frame, just kind of make a nice finishing touch. Here you can see how the 1x3s overlap when I cut them down to a 1-inch strip and a 2-inch strip. It really makes the corners look nice. Okay, so our horizontal battens are up. I didn't really get any footage of us doing this, but the biggest thing is to just make sure they're level and make sure they are in line with each other. It'll really throw your eye off. So I made this little jig out of scrap wood and the level. It seemed to really work for me. I don't know if they make something like this, but they all look great. They all look level, so we're ready to wood fill, sand, and then caulk. Wood filler everywhere. We had a lot of nail holes, so we had to make sure we filled every nail hole with wood filler. So there's a lot of them. This took a long time. Okay, so this is the fourth day now. Pretty much done. Filled all those holes with wood filler, caulking all the seams. Still have to finish on top of this one, all the way around the ledge to the top. So no one wants to watch another person paint, so here's the big reveal. We're all done. It's all painted, it's all finished. We have some outlet plates to install, but that's pretty much it. We're done here. On this wall here, we're thinking about putting pictures on the ledge. So that's another finishing thing that we'll do. But we tried to finish this in a 3-day weekend, and I think we could have done it in 4 if we didn't have to go back to work. It took us about 6 or 7 since we had to go back to work on Tuesday after the holiday weekend. So all in all, I think this was a great project. It was a lot of hard work, but I think it was worth it. It really makes the room look a lot better. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm Sierra. I'm a maker. Thanks so much for watching.